Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome back to TTC for the Premier Tier. This is round 7 of the season, and the first of 2 weeks on being at the home of motor racing. We are here in Great Britain at the infamous Silverstone circuit. We are doing it the proper way this time around. Next week, we do it in reverse. But let's get on with the action here. Excuse me, trying not to choke on myself for a second there. It is just myself and Mr. Bobberts in the box for you tonight. Joseph feels like he's been smoking 20 a day at the moment, and that is why he is feeling a little bit under the weather. But nonetheless, you have me, and you'll just have to put up with it again. Obviously, if you would like to request a fact, you know what you need to do. Go and spend your points, and I will give you a fact. Anything about Great Britain that you would like. Within question, obviously. But as we get out onto into the lobby, onto the circuit, sorry, so apologies for the small delay, a little bit of an issue with the lobby setting up. But here we go now, hopefully going to load in. But we will, whilst we wait, we will go through the standings and the results, obviously, from last time out. And, well, what a performance by a few teams, actually. The points were actually fairly spread out in terms of a lot of teams getting the same number of points, or at least within a few of each other. But the main thing was Shizou Cedar Igniters extending their lead over Ventauri by a further 22 points from the Spanish Grand Prix that we had last time out. So the gap now is 44 points between the top two teams. IRT promoted themselves up to ahead of FRT now with 31 points they scored last week. FRT getting -9. Not ideal, which means they dropped to 4th now overall, ahead of TRT, who now sit in 5th after having a decent race last time out, as did ERT. Excuse me. Oh, wow. I just look up at the screen as I'm still looking at the standings, and that if there's anything to go by of British weather, you have got it right here. What a qualifying session we are going to have in store here tonight. You're going to need an umbrella and a canoe, I think, to get around this track, let alone an F1 car. Could we see the wet weather? No, we're not going to see wet weather tyres, surely. I'd be surprised if we did, although according to the game, everyone has been put onto the wets, but drivers are switching to the intermediates, which is probably what we're likely going to see. But good evening, everybody. Like I said, welcome along for the seventh round of this installation of this 15-round TTC Premier Tier Championship. Looks like we are going to be waiting a little bit for drivers to come out on track. Obviously, everybody will have had dry setups, and now they're going to have to change it all for this, what is like a 3-drop rain. Maybe this is a preparation for the storm that is coming our way on Friday. It's quite possible, but you never know. But yeah, sorry, I will continue with the standings as I was going on then. So like I said, ERT in 6th place with 106 points. It's very tight in that mid-pack. Between 4th and 6th, 11 points separating FRT, TRT and ERT. TF10, after a decent showing last time out, got themselves up into 7th after being at the foot of the table near enough. Legacy Racing in P8 with All Elite Racing Team in P9, and then Bravo Racing Club. How do you score -24 points and you are now on -18? I know they've had their issues, you know, for different reasons, but how do you score that? How do you do that? Obviously, I haven't really taken into account what's happened in the stewards' room and any penalty points that have been applied, but wow. I never knew it was a thing that you could go backwards, but they're sure as hell showing that to us. But anyway, we are now getting out on track. Kevin Zumberg is the lead car out on track. Everybody is going onto the intermediate tyres, as you'd expect, but this is the grid of 20 drivers that we have tonight. I mean, what have we got? Actually, it looks like nearly an equal mix here between Xbox and PlayStation. What we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I say that it's six Xbox and 14 PlayStation drivers here tonight. But this is your lineup for tonight. So Shizou going with Nilo and Finley, ERT going with Kevin, who we on board with, and EVR Knight. TRT going with Andrea and Zane. FRT going with the return of Quantum and Max Power. Seems to be the same duo that they put out near enough every single week. IRT have got Nick. Excuse me again as I choke on myself. And Zwade there as his teammate in tonight. ART have got Crowding and Shadow. TF10 have Snack and Mateo Manga, who's hosting this tonight, so thank you for Mateo for doing that. Ventari, I've got Sapala and Luca. Legacy Racing have Typical and Callum. And then Bravo Racing Up have Polymassy and Cosimo. Let's ride on board with Kevin Zumberg for our lap here around Silverstone in these treacherous conditions. Going through turn 1 now. Look at the car sliding around. He's managed to keep it on track, so fair play to him. Obviously, we come into Farm Corner now, turn 3 here. Very difficult to get the car turning the best of times in the dry and into the loop now. It's, well, like I said, it's difficult at the easiest of times, but in these conditions, it is just another thing altogether. Now, onto the Wellington Straight. No DRS activated, obviously, with these wet weather conditions. As we head now into the start of Sector 2 into Brooklands now, missing the apex on the inside line and in through Lovefield. Probably gone a little bit wider to try and straighten the car on the exit to put that power down. Kind of, but also not really at the same time. Done through Woodcut, which is obviously down the old pit straight, now known as the Lewis Hamilton straight, in through the famous Cops Corner. Down to 6th gear just to make sure we can get the car turned in, and just about doing so even if we did miss the apex by about a bus there. Now into the famous Maggots, and we have backed out. Never mind, we will then continue on board. Is it Andre then that is next in line? No, it's not. It's Zane, but he's on an outlap. So who is the next car? We have an Aston Martin, that is Wade. So through Maggots and Beckett's, here we go. We're sliding our way through these fast left and right handers, and then through the final part of Beckett's and Chapel Corner. A little bit of lag there, don't know if that's on my end or if it's the game, but either way, now onto the Hangar Straight. Again, no DRS activated. We'll be bringing the car over to the left hand side into Stoke Corner now, with what is now got on the left hand side would be the Lando Norris stands, as they have also been renamed. Down into Vale, into the final chicane, so 2 corners to go here. In fact, Kevin does a 1.43.7, but he did back out of his lap through the final corner here for Zwade. The car complaining for traction, and it's a 39.3 to get us the first sort of representative lap time on the board. Obviously, we do expect drivers to go a bit quicker as the session goes on, but let's see what they can do. Crowding there, coming to the end of his lap, has had quite a bit of traffic, and he's already used all of his battery on his first push lap. Come through the final corner now, getting the traction down just about, but with no battery to deploy. But he still goes P3 with Max Power there going into P2 there, just behind his way for the time being. Crowding's teammate Shadow goes 1/1000th behind him. So the Racing Bull's very close on circuit, and that is Shadow just getting out of the way of the Kick Sauber there that is just about to get themselves going. Quantum with a very solid 51.1. That's exactly what you love to see. Quantum renowned actually for doing that, and then for going again. Cosmo is on lap, but he's going to be going again. So who is coming to the end of their lap that hasn't set a lap? And Mateo Manga is the first of those. What's he going to set? It's a 39.4, goes into P2 at these early stages. Here comes AMS Knight now through the final couple of corners. That was I think Polymassy going to P7, Luca in P8 initially. Then Knight now displaces them and goes just about a 10th quicker than Zwade to 39.2s. His teammate now, who was the initial car to get out on track, who backed out coming into Maggots and Beckett and has decided to go again. So they're coming through Vale and Club Corner now, getting the power down in that Ferrari. What can he do? It looks like it's going to be a better time, and indeed it is. He goes exactly a 10th quicker than his teammate, and it's an all-Ferrari front row at these early stages for the time being. Zane now coming through the final few corners himself. Got the chrome livery there on the McLaren. I will admit, I think it's absolutely disgusting. I absolutely hate it. And he only goes P13 with that 41.6. Here comes Nick now for IRT, who had a good week last week. Got themselves up into 3rd in the standings. Can they promote themselves even higher with a good race result here tonight? And so far they are in 3rd and 6th now, with Nick going in 6th place. His teammates away still in P3. But there goes Sapala with a 38.7, goes 4 tenths clear of Kevin Zumberg now. Obviously drivers getting used to these conditions, and then Quantum just immediately smashes that and goes 7 tenths quicker with a 38.0. I mean, I'm saying that as if I'm shocked when I shouldn't be shocked. It's Quantum at the end of the day. But saying that, sometimes with Quantum you could get one or the other. Andrea coming to the end of his lap, 7 seconds down. He's gone for a cool lap, and he's going to go again. Typical, doing the exact same thing. A lot of drivers, I think, are at that point where they seem to be doing so. Now sets his first lap, and it's a 39.4, only good enough for P8. How's his teammate Finley doing? He's just come through Club Corner now, and Finley with a 41.3 is just going to go again. Obviously must have made a mistake on that lap somewhere that we didn't quite catch. There's a Haas coming through the final corner. I'm presuming they're going to be going again as Finley actually invalidates coming through the first corner, or first two corners at least, and will not be best pleased with that. Luca's gone back. Some drivers have already gone back into the pit, so clearly only fueled maybe for one lap, some with two, but will want to get themselves going again. Suede is up on his time. We'll keep on board with the Aston Martin. In this final sector, there is a McLaren in front of him. Not too sure if that's Andrea or Zane who is on, if they are on a lap at all. We'll see if they cross line. And it was Zane who goes into P4 now. But what can Suede do? Looks like he's very close to Quantum time, and indeed he is. Goes a 10th behind the Kick Sauber there. Gets himself up to P2 and back onto the provisional front row. But obviously these early stages, the drivers are just going to be going quicker and quicker and quicker as this session goes on. Good evening to you, Grumpy, there in the chat. I can see that you are in there. Finally looks for us at the moment. Not too sure what that means, if I'm brutally honest. Maybe I'm just being absolutely thick as hell, which won't surprise me. Snack there goes into P3 for TF10 there. So TF10 obviously, like I said, had a decent showing last week for the first time finally this season. Actually got their arses into gear and actually got themselves a decent result, and let's see if they can make it 2 good races in a row for the Alpine Racing team. Sapala on his lap. We're stuck on board with Sapala, who set the initial banker before Quantum beat him by 7/10 of a second, so stick on board with the Red Bulls. He comes through Luffield now. As Knight now goes 7/10 quicker than Quantum. So my guess is that these conditions are just improving constantly, and maybe the rain is slowly improving, not deteriorating, improving. Obviously we're sliding through Copse Corner there, almost quite doing Max Verstappen-esque. There is Sapala in that Red Bull now into Maggots and Beckett's. There is a car in front of him. Hopefully that Aston Martin is not going to get in his way, and it looks like they're not, even though he looks like he is gaining. Although is the Aston Martin on a lap? The answer is potentially, but we are 6/10 up, apparently purple in that middle sector for Sapala. But do I believe that? Probably not. Into Stoke Corner, flicking the car into the right hand side from the left. Fourth to get the car turned in, then fifth on the exit just to try and minimise the traction and any wheel spin. Heavy braking now down into Vale Corner, and then through the final corner, which, like I said, is Club Corner now for the Red Bull Ventari Racing driver. What's it going to be? We have a big wiggle there on the exit, but we go P2, but still the best part of nearly half a second down of AMS Knight. And that time that Knight has said seems to be I said seems to be very, very good. Snack has now displaced him and goes a few hundredths quicker. And TF10 now go to the top of the timing sheets. Quite a few different strategies with what people are doing. Some going for just one lap and pitting. Some have gone for 2 or 3. Completely different strategies going here. It's a case of when it's obviously going to be whoever maybe starts their lap last is going to have the best conditions. Let's run board with the Mercedes of Finley down in P20 at the moment. His teammate is there in front of him, about to start a lap time, so hopefully now does not get in Finley's way or cause any disturbance. Doesn't look like it as we come through the final corner now for the SCI man, and it's up to P7 with a 38.4, but still the best part of 1.1 seconds off Snack's time there currently as it stands. I'm going to take a drink at some point, if I'm brutally honest. I know, Joseph, that's the issue that I had with being on a phone as well. I tried to do it as well, and it just would not let me. I kind of gave up. So unless somebody else can do it, then it's just going to stay as it is, as Callum there goes into P3 for the time being. So good luck there from Callum, getting to the mid-37s. Quantum has just started his latest attempt. We have a Racing Bull of Crowder coming around the final corner, but he has invalidated his lap time of what would have been enough for P5 at the moment. But no idea where he invalidated, but he will be getting himself back to the pits and put on a fresh set of boots, considering he does not have the battery. Is anybody knows that? His teammate Shadow has also invalidated. Luca for Ventari now down in P20, and with these times just tumbling all the time. Well, you just got time, right? We've got less than 6 minutes to go already, and that is wide there from Luca. How is the game not invalidated? That I do not know. But if there is an improvement here for the Ventari man, he will have to hopefully go quicker again. Oh, that could end up being a penalty of some form for him, but we'll have to wait and see as we come through the end of Maggott, Beckett and Chapel now. We are 2 seconds up, so we'll go with a much better improvement for the time being. Mercedes coming across the line. Is that Nilo finishing his lap time? The answer is yes, it is. He goes into P6, just 2 1,000ths behind Quantum. He's done 4 laps now on those intermediates, so he's going to have to, well, he'll be going in for a fresh set of boots next time round. As we keep on board with Luca coming through the final few corners. Max Power now goes half a second clear of Snack into the 36s now. Track is still improving. There goes Luca into P2. Obviously, he did go wide though at Copse Corner, so he'll hopefully, for his sake, try and improve on his next latest attempt. Quantum coming round through the final few corners. Oh, it's worked. Excellent. I'm glad you've got it to work, at least, because I sure as I wouldn't have been able to. I'd have just thrown my phone somewhere. As Quantum now goes back to the top with a 36 flat, so maybe should probably get into the 35s. You can definitely tell the rain is a little bit lighter than what it was previously. I mean, it is still good weather for a duck. Not quite for these F1 cars, but again, just showing that why are wet tyres even on this game, let alone in real life, when we're not going to be needing them, or let alone using them. So any driver there on a lap at the moment. Is Wade on a lap? He is, and he is supposedly purple through the first sector. So let's stay on board with Wade, who has shown good pace throughout this qualifying session already when he's set his laps. He's on a fresh set of boots now as we come down. Let's ride on board, coming through Copse Corner and hits the apex very nicely. Doesn't run the car all the way to the on the exit. Yellow flags in front. That's just a few cars going slow. Potentially that Kick Sauber has run out of fuel. We'll just have to wait and see as we go through Maggott and Beckett and Chapel Corner, some of the best corners, not just on this game, on the F1 calendar, but in the world itself. The fantastic section here at Silverstone. Coming to Stowe Corner once again. Flicking the car to the right, back on the power again, and unlike most other drivers that I've seen, Zwade actually able to use his batteries. He's got a little bit left to use compared to everyone else who seemed to have deployed it all. As we start the third sector, coming through the final couple of corners now. Where does he go? And Zwade goes up into P2, just about less than a quarter of a second off Quantum, and it's a good effort there. He splits the two Kick Saubers, even if they are separated by nearly just over 7 tenths themselves. But a good lap there from Zwade. How's Knight getting along? He's actually just starting a lap. Currently still in P6 is Mateo Manga. Further on, no, he is not. So let's go on board with Nick. We are 2.4 seconds up. Excuse me, at the moment for the Aston Martin man, obviously based just outside of, well, basically are based here at Silverstone. So, you know, the Aston Martin team themselves know this circuit like the back of their hands. Whether the IRT lot do or not, well, time will certainly tell. But through the final few corners for Nick, what can he do? Can he get towards his teammate, towards the top of the timing sheets? And indeed he doesn't. In fact, displaces his teammate for P2. But while it's a very good P2 and P3 for IRT with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go, he's got time to recharge and go once more. A lot of drivers still in the pits. They need to get out on track very quickly. If they're going to have one more attempt to get a lap time on the board. That's Cosimo now going up into P5 for BRC, who, as I said, are on minus 18 points. I will want to get themselves back into positive numbers. Let's go on board with Knight because he's the only one besides Mateo Manga who's on lap. In fact, Mateo Manga is further up the field, but we'll stick on board with Knight, who is in P8 and has shown good pace and has actually led this qualifying session at different points. As he comes through the final corner now. This might be his final attempt, you know, but it's a 35.599. He goes back onto provisional pole, but I don't think he's going to have enough time to set another lap unless he absolutely pushes it, but he's not going to be able to use his battery. So we'll just have to wait and see. So he could, well, I think Mateo Manga could potentially be, or the Kick Sauber that's in front could be the last car to go again on their lap. And is that Quantum? No, it's not even Quantum. Quantum's only on an out lap. I think Quantum's done, you know. I think his qualifying is over and done with. He's not going to be able to go again. But we'll wait and see as the session, these final minutes of this final minute actually now into this session already. This session has flown by, and look at the rain as we go on board with Crowder. You can definitely tell it is lighter than what it was earlier on. So yeah, definitely if you set your lap time at the end of the session, you are going to benefit compared to those like Knight, who has just set his lap time now and has potentially no more chances to go again. Look at the, I mean, look, there's a train now developing in that third sector. Drivers trying to make spaces between each other with very minimal time left on the board. We'll stick on board with Crowding. Him in shadow, down in P19 and 20 for AERT. Not what they would have wanted at this point, but they have one more attempt. This is his final attempt. Let's see what he can do. Can he improve from what is currently P19? He's 2.8 seconds up at the moment, which is a lot, but he's going to have to improve even more if he's going to have any chance of sticking even towards the midfield. Car squirreling there, under braking there as he gets it flicked in into Stowe corner. Back on the power, using that battery. We are now out of battery altogether, so this is it for Crowding. What's it going to be? For AERT, there's Quant. So the top three have finished. They are not going to set a lap time. That is then done. So Crowding's the first driver to complete his final attempt. And what's it going to be? It's P2 for Crowding. Finds a second in that final sector and goes provisional P2. Here comes Suede now. He's half a second up. Can he dislodge Knight at the top of the standings? Yes, he can by just over 300ths of a second. These times are still coming in thick and fast. A lot of drivers are in sector 1, but some of them have already finished. TRT, a P16 and 17 now. Look at Andrea there. Wow, sliding it through Copse corner. His teammate Zane coming through the final couple of corners now. I hate that chrome livery. I know I've already said it, but it's Zane who goes now up into P5. We've got a Red Bull now, one of the Ventaris going across the line. That's Sapala now who dislodges Suede, goes onto provisional pole with a 0.5 of his own. We've now got one of the BRC drivers. It's not Cosimo. We'll stick on board with Cosimo though as he comes through to start the final sector. So Polybassi goes into P4. We now have an Alpine coming across, Williams coming across the line. That's Callum. He goes P6. We've then got two Mercedes and a McLaren coming to the line. Nilo goes into P6 only for the time being. Hopefully Finley can find some more time for SCI's sake. McLaren coming across the line. That'll be Andrea. He now goes into P6 and dislodges Nilo. What can Cosimo do? As he comes through the final few corners, Finley goes into P5 for SCI. What's Cosimo doing? It's only P14, and I say only P14. As then Luca now goes on top into VNT, front row lockout for the time being. As you didn't notice that Nick had invalidated. Here comes Snack. At one point was top of the standings as Kevin and Max Power go P2, P3, but Snack steals it. I can't hold my breath. Wow. Snack was the final driver to set his lap time. He called it perfectly, and he steals and takes pole position for TF10. That I did not expect. But look at that. Look at how much of a field spread that is, because of when you get that lap in, it's obviously last driver across the line gets the best conditions, and Snack takes full advantage. Luca there in P2, then Max Power in P3, and Kevin in P4. It's a bit of a mixed up grid, I'll be honest. I did not expect that. That wasn't what I was expecting, but that is what we have. Sapala P5 from Zway, Knight, Polymassive Finley, Crowding is your top 10. Then you've got Andrea and Nilo, typical Shadow, Callum, Quantum in P16. And sorry, I did say Quantum in P16. Then you got Zane, Matteo Manga, Nick, and Cosimo rounding out the top 20. Wow, that was a very hectic qualifying session. I can finally now take a little bit of a breather. Just going to tell the drivers when to go. Give them 2 minutes. That should be more than enough time. If not, then, well, deal with it. Obviously, I did actually just realised I said that the old pit straight was the Hamilton straight. It's not. It's the main pit straight. I do apologise. I should know my stuff, and I just completely, I don't know why it just came into my head. I thought, oh crap, I actually got that completely wrong. 26 of you, oh nice ad break there, that's what we love to see, but 26 of you watching currently so far. Try and get more people in if you can, everybody. Come and watch what is going to be a fantastic British Grand Prix. Like I said, the first of two. Next week we do this all over again, but in reverse. But as I said, here we are tonight for the 7th round of the Premier Tier, and we're doing it the correct way. And the sun is now shining. You can't get any more British than that. Troy, where did your sons qualify? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to scroll down on the race director, and then you can see for yourself. So there you go. That is where they qualified. With what was a very, very wet Silverstone circuit. But now the sun is shining. We do have some clouds, but it is a completely different story. compared to what it was, like I said, in qualifying. I'm gonna guess try they didn't practice any wet weather at all. But you know, Silverstone, Great Britain, or the United Kingdom, what do you expect? It's gonna rain at some point. And if it's not here, then it's Spa. You know, the two main places as to where you're likely going to get rain, whether it's, like I said, here at Silverstone because it's Britain, or in the Ardennes Forest, or maybe even in the Styrian Hills, obviously for Austria as well. But Austria actually generally has quite good weather, more often than not. But yeah, P9 and P12, better not say anything. But the race, as we know, is where it counts. The only thing is, Troy, Ventauri qualified higher up, and both of their drivers, I believe, are ahead, and indeed they are the second and fifth. And obviously, after losing out last time out at Catalonia, we'll want to try and reduce that deficit from what I believe is currently at 44 points. But there's still a long way to go. Officially, once we get halfway into this race, we are halfway into the season. But we've still got a long way to go, and anything can happen. The positions all could completely change, not just for this race, but for the entire season and for the team standings. And obviously for the drivers themselves as well. But here we are onto the grid. The 5 red lights are coming on for us now. And it's lights out, and away we go. And it's a decent start there from Luca on the inside. He's got a much better start than Snack. Snack tried to cover him, but he's not going to do that quickly enough. And Luca on the inside to turn 1. He's on the outside to turn 2. Snack trying to defend as much as he can through farm and into village corner. Now a bit of contact as Luca sends him off wide. He's got to go around the outside of the loop corner, going to have the better traction. Snack is still going to be the inside line, but Luca dislodges and not dismantles, but takes the lead as we come to the left. He's going to try and get out of the slipstream of the Alpine behind him. We're side by side for P3. That's Max Power and Kevin Zumberg. Max Power taking the inside line into Brooklyn's corner. He's going to try and cut it into Luffield, but the Ferrari is still there on the inside. I didn't see why Typical got himself a 10-second time penalty for cutting the corner and gaining a position. He'll serve that in the in his pit stop, so Typical's race is already kind of over before it even began. But we're still side by side here with Max Power and Kevin Zumberg coming in through Maggotts and Beckett. Is any of them going to back out? No, they're not. We're still side by side, but in the end Max Power just about prevails. I will now put all the detail on now that this is just sort of calming down a little bit. But Max Power gets into P3, Kevin in P4, Sipala there looking threatening in P5. Is Kevin going to make a move into Stoke corner? No, he's not. He wasn't quite far enough alongside. Both racing bulls have, well, I was going to say on 19th and 20th. Crowding's now made the move ahead of Andrea. Not too sure why Shadow is the best part of 5 seconds off the train. Obviously got caught up in something. God, don't you just love an ad. Either way, but then we've got the tyre strategies, and we've got 3 drivers starting on the hard compounded tyres, and that is Quantum, Zane and Nick. Everybody else going for the medium compounded tyre to start this race, but it is Luca who is in the lead at the moment. He's just taken that away from Snack through the first opening corners. Have a quick look at the position changes, and wow, well, there you go. Look at that. Crowding and Andrea and Shadow down 6 and 7 places respectively between the pair of them. Cosimo just coming to blows there, potentially with Crowding, I believe that was. But look at Quantum on his hard tyres. He's up 6 places. What a fantastic start for the FR team, and after a very poor qualifying, didn't have enough time to get his final lap in, but he's making amends for this early part of the race, and he's gained what the places he needed to. But it is early stages. We're only on lap 2 now of this 26 lap race. We're side by side near enough, or was that just the Mercedes? Indeed it was the Mercedes of Nilo or Finley trying to just get out the dirty air off the car in front, whether it's off themselves. But they're up into 7th and 8th. They've gained places to pair of them, which is what they need to do. They need to do to close back in on VNT, who have had a good start to this race. Sipala maintaining position in P5, but Luca leading this race now out the front. Snack now with the DRS coming down the hanger straight. He's going to make a move down the inside line. He's used quite a lot of battery, I mean, we'll be brutally honest. But nonetheless, he takes the lead back and once again into Stoke corner with the DRS and that battery usage. And Luca now back down into P2. We'll go back into the midfield. Knight now in P9 behind the 2 Mercedes. He's got Quantum now closing in on the back of him. Even on his hard compounded tyres, he is not being dropped by any means. Just showing the pace that he has shown. Obviously, for these last number of years, Quantum, a top quality, high level caliber driver. And, well, just showing what he's worth, really. How much does he get paid? Not too sure. Right, okay, so... Okay. Now that I've read what you said, Beetle, that's fair enough. now I definitely do understand. As we go on board here with Nilo, but we're side by side as Finley got ahead of his weight, and Nilo now trying to get the move done on the Aston Martin himself, and both Mercedes have overtaken the Aston Martin. So Zwade, even though he had a very good qualifying, is struggling here in the race in these early stages. Not too sure why that is, but here comes AMS Knight now though. Is he going to make a move down the inside? No, he's not. The Aston Martin goes into the middle of the circuit. Knight didn't know where to go, whether it was left or right. In the end, it stays behind him, but that's going to potentially could open the door for Quantum now as he closes in onto the back of that Ferrari diffuser. I tell you one thing I find quite funny is the fact that Max Verstappen has won in a Ferrari quicker than what Lewis Hamilton has, and that's not me including obviously the sprint race that he won. I just found that absolutely hilarious. Either way, as we come down the hangar straight, 18 cars still within this DRS train. Shadow and Cosimo now out of the DRS. Shadow's actually closed in nearly a couple of seconds, obviously after the melee in the first lap. That is a Williams of Callum trying to send it down the inside of the Chrome McLaren of Zane there, who's on those hard tyres and didn't quite get the move done down into Vale Corner, and he's now pretty much used all of his battery to try and potentially get the move done. He might now come under threat from Mattea Manga. But this is the issue with TF10 once again. Snack being at the front of the field, but his teammate down at P15 is not ideal. What was pole and who? Well, it was a full wet qualifying. It was Snack who got pole position with a 35.3, I want to say. Like I said, intermediate tyres, what do you expect? But yeah, I think it was a 35.3. We'll get ourselves back towards the front of the field as everyone is starting to settle down a little bit now. On this fourth lap here, nobody going for any real moves at the moment, although Quantum getting close to the back of AMS Knight, and maybe these hard tyres are already coming into play. Lovely helicopter shot. Look at that helicopter view there as the cars entered through Maggott and Beckett. Here we come back to the side of the track. Quantum now will have the DRS on the back of AMS Knight. He's going to use that battery. Is he going to be close enough to get a move done? We're going board with the Kicksauber, but no, has no intentions. With obviously Knight having the DRS himself. Shadow's still closing in on this train. I am just going to point out he's closed in another 8/10. So Shadow's pace seems to be quite decent. Obviously he's not got any DRS. It will be burning that battery, but maybe obviously Snack out in front is just trying to conserve that battery as much as he can, as Quantum getting very close through Vale and Club Corner on the back of that Ferrari once again in front of him. Knight's he's just running in his own race, doesn't seem to really have the pace potentially, but I say that he's only 4/10 off the back of the Aston Martin in front of him. It's come through the loop now and onto the Wellington straight with the DRS open once again. Obviously 2 DRS zones here at the Silverstone circuit, down the Wellington and then Hangar straight, but nobody really going for any moves at this particular point. It might just, like I said, just settle down until we get to the first round of pit stops. So expect the medium tyre runners to pit anywhere between lap 9 and maybe lap 12 at the latest. But you don't want to get caught up with the undercuts. Quantum once again with the aid of very good traction, getting very close to that Ferrari in front of him as we come on into Copse Corner. We'll ride on board with the Kicksauber. A little bit of understeer there, complaining maybe from the dirty air from the Ferrari in front of him. But we are getting closer and closer every single time around for the Kicksauber. It's like I've stayed on board with him for over a lap now, but he's really the closest person potentially he could be making any moves. Zane also now closing in, looked like he was closing in on the back of the medium time runner of Typical, but not quite at the moment. There you go, Quantum getting to within a quarter of a second again of Knight's rear diffuser, but again not really close enough to attempt to make a move. One person I'm a bit surprised on is Andrea down in P18. Obviously had that incident in the first lap, didn't quite see what happened. That's the Martin of Nick going very wide there through Vale Corner, just missing his braking point. But yeah, Andrea will need to get a move. Obviously going to be some crazy strategy, I think, now from him and TRT if they're going to get themselves back up the field. Shadow still 2.8 seconds off the back of the train in front of him. Cosimo not really closing in on Shadow, but they are maintaining their own pace at least and aren't losing out too much. Snack still leads the way for the time being, but look at the battery usage between the top two in the 20% region, whereas Max Power is into just about clipping 80%. Kevin himself has got more battery, as has Sipala. Finley kind of in the middle, and then Nilo himself has the same. So drivers using the ERS levels and their battery deployment, in different areas, and Knight himself hasn't got a lot of battery compared to the Kicksauber Quantum, as he once again gets close to the back of the Ferrari. We'll stick on board with his teammate of Kevin now. staying up a little bit further up the field. Again, nothing really happening for the time being. Everything seems to happen in the first couple of laps. You then have the cool down. It then happens. It gets busy again come the pit stops, and then at the end of the race potentially. Although I said this last night and that just didn't happen. One thing I am surprised is the fact that the sun is still staying out here. Blue skies pretty much all around this Silverstone circuit. Is there any threat of rain? Any engineers know, but my guess is the answer is that there isn't going to be any whatsoever. Snack still leading the way. Gap up to 0.8 of a second now to Luca in behind him. So Snack kind of showing that he's potentially got a little bit more pace compared to the Red Bull behind him. And do you know what? He could actually break the DRS here. Luca's going to have to be very, very careful not to lose out here. Snack is trying to burn that battery as much as he can. Luca just, and I mean literally just about, has the DRS here. We are over a second behind the LP now in front of him, but Luca's race pace seems to be dropping off slightly now, and maybe Max Power is going to have to see this and get his skates on if he wants to stick within, getting close to Snack, who seems to be pulling away now at the front. He still leads this race then from Luca, from Max Power and Kevin in P4. Top 4 have stayed the same. In fact, the top 5 have stayed the same with Sapala and P5. But then you've got the two Mercedes of the SCI drivers of Finley and Nyla now. And here comes Finley closing in on the back of that Red Bull in front of him. He's got his teammate as a rear gunner of Nyla in behind him as we come through Markins and Beckett's now. Is he going to be close enough to make a move down the hangar straight to Sapala? 8 tenths, and he goes wide at the final part of Beckett and through Chapel Corner. Could this be a possibility for Finley to make a move? But he's lost a bit of time himself. So the answer to that is a big fat no. No rain, says Beetle. That's a bit of a shame, but that could have certainly have spiced things up. But never mind. I suppose we got it in qualifying, so we can't really complain too much. It's Nyla there getting very close to the back of Finley going into Vale Corner. There seems to be a little bit later on the brakes. Quantum still not really making any further impressions on Knight now, who seems to have settled down somewhat, as we already have a pit stop, and it is Andrea on the end of lap 7. He was the last driver in this queue. He's going onto the hard tyres now to get himself a massive undercut. Short-term gain, long-term pain. He's got nothing to lose being down in P18. They're trying a crazy strategy. Let's see how that pays off. It might actually afford us to potentially maybe get a few people to pit in with him. Kevin getting very close to the back, and Max Power saying getting very close. He's alongside the Kicksauber as we're coming through Luffield. He's on the outside line. The Kicksauber's there. He's got the inside line, got the racing line just about. Kevin's going to have the traction on the exit, and we're going to be side by side as we come through Woodcote and down the old pit straight. Excuse me, but in the end he backs out of it, lets Max Power go, but Max Power has lost the DRS. Oh wow, that's very wide there from Kevin. That might open the door for Sapala now, and indeed it does. Here comes Sapala through the first part of Maggots and Beckett on the inside line. What a move there from the Red Bull, the Ventari driver, taking advantage of Kevin's mistake, and he promotes himself into P4, and Ventari will certainly be pleased, and Kevin will be kicking himself for that mistake that he just made. And somehow Max Power actually managed to stay within the DRS of Luca in front of him. So fair play to him, considering the batting and the defending that he just had to do, and managing to maintain that position. Kevin now going into the pits at the end of lap 8, the first of the front runners to make a pit stop. He's going for the big undercut to try and get the clean air. This might cause a few people to pit in maybe this lap, but we'll wait and see. Any other pitters? Yes indeed, Callum into the pit and Mateo Manga. They were both down and languished in towards the mid to rear end of the field. So again, haven't got really anything or much to lose, unlike Typical, who's got, well, has lost everything with that 10-second time penalty that he's got for cutting a corner and gaining a position. Except we didn't see it earlier on, so apologies, but I'm guessing he just came to blows, potentially, but we'll have to wait and see. Polymassi now open to P10, Quantum still now in P9, behind AMS Knight, and hasn't really been able to make any impressions on that Ferrari ever since he was close a few laps ago, within a couple of tenths. Andrea, with that undercut, has managed to get ahead of Callum and Mateo Manga. He's only a few tenths ahead of them, bear in mind, but he's ahead of them, so he has jumped a couple of drivers. Kevin now 13 seconds off the back of Shadow, and has now got the clean air and fresh hard tyres. So let's see what he can do with that. Someone who has got clean air as well is Finley. He's got no battery pretty much, and obviously does not have the DRS because of Kevin pitting, and has not been able to close in the back of Sapala. So he will have to, and certainly let his teammate go, who will have the DRS and the slipstream and the actual battery itself. And indeed, there we go. There is a swap of positions for SCI. Nyla now goes into P5. Finley into P6, and they will just now try and follow each other. I say that, Nyla now goes into the box. Interesting one. At least he manages to get the car stopped. This is a circuit where you can easily go too quick into the pit lane and just screw your race up even more so, but thankfully nothing really, nothing's happened as of yet at least, but I could eat my words, anything could happen. Snack still leads this race, the 9/10 gap over Luca. The gap has just been fluctuating between half a second to 9/10 of a gap. There has been a moment that we thought that Snack might have gotten out of the DRS of Luca, but Luca's just been stubborn enough to just about stay within it. Max Power now getting closer to the back of the Red Bull once again. He's dragging Sipala along for the ride. Andrea sets the fastest lap of the race on his fresh hard tyres. Let's see what sort of undercut he's got. Is he going to get himself ahead of AMS Knight, who was running in P8? The answer is no. But he might get the DRS. Is he going to get it? I'm just looking at the intervals. The answer is no, he will not get the DRS. But at least it's quite a few positions gained and a decent undercut there for the TRT man at this particular point. Max Power now closed in onto the back of Luca, who I don't think is going to have DRS this time around unless he has an amazing Maggotts and Beckett, and even though he's fairly decent, it's not good enough, and I think Luca's going to lose his P2 here now. Here comes the kick Sauber for FRT. Max Power with the DRS and the battery goes back onto the racing line, and there was nothing that Luca could do. Max Power now goes into P2 for FRT. It's a Ventari 3 and 4 now, but all the drivers are coming into the pits. The top three are now in the box. Sipalan stays out, he has to, he can't follow his teammate in obviously. Finley's in, Zwade is in. Quantum will obviously stay out, being on the alternate strategy, as Finley is the first driver to speed into the pit lane. It's a 10-second time penalty for the SCI man. That is not what they would have wanted, being the leaders in the team standings, and Finley's race has just gone for, well, what was a decent recovery has now gone backwards, and that is unfortunate, but that's what you get when you try and cut it very fine and lose as minimal time as you possibly can. That is not Zwade, sorry. That was Nick and Typical going side by side through Village, Farm and through the loop, and the hard time runner of Nick just about gets them moved on. Andreas sets another fastest lap of the race, showing he has got very good pace on those hard compounder tyres, and he's got himself ahead of Finley, who obviously was running in P6, and so is Callum as well, but obviously they do have time penalty. Well, Finley obviously does have that time penalty, so it might come to no avail, as he is actually getting very, very close with Callum. We could get on board with these two. He's on the outside line, he's got the DRS, does Callum. If he did or not, I'm not too sure. Either way, Finley gets the move done, but he's going to be absolutely angry and annoyed with himself now that he's got that time penalty. Why is it funny, Dirk? Do you want to enlighten me? Dirk. I hope you're not saying that that's me that's doing the laughing because I'm your own team. Well, at least there's a positive now. At least Ventari have now got themselves a penalty as well. Yes, so at least now Sipala has done the exact same thing. So it equals out. There we go. Yeah, 1-1 if it was like a football score. But either way, Sipala, he didn't need to take that risk. And if he'd have been told, well, I'm surely he'd have known that Finley got that time penalty. But either way, Sipala's done the same thing. And that is two drivers now. Along with Typical, who's going to be taking his time penalty this time round, going into the pits onto his hard tyres. Andrea now jumps Sipala, so Andrea's undercut has worked out beautifully for him at this moment in time. He's up into P10, but those tyres are going to go downhill from this point onwards. The top three are those who started on the hard tyres. So you've got Quantum and Zane now within 6/10 of each other. Zane will use the slipstream of the kick Sauber in front of him to drag himself along, and let's see what lap and how far that they can go. Sorry, just taking a few seconds there just to get a little bit of breath back. Zane getting close to the back of Quantum there in front of him, but I think he's just going to use the DRS of the FRT man in front of him just to propel himself along. So Kevin Zunberg leads the train of those who pitted onto the hard tyres. So he is at the moment the net race leader. So even though he lost that place to Sipala, he is now actually net leading this race, but he has got the oldest tyres of everybody up until TRT's Andrea. Everyone else has gone either 1 or 2 laps later than what he has, so it'll be okay at this particular point. Obviously, we've still got a long way to go. We're not even we're just about to hit half race distance, so there's still quite a bit to go here. And well, I do expect the likes of Snack and Nilo and Max Power to potentially get a move done. Max Power, they're getting very close through the loop there to the back of the Mercedes, and that is that a typical that has crashed into the pits? Indeed it is. He is now retired, so we're now down to 19 runners and riders. Quantum trying to pull away from Zane there at the front. All the action though is going to be here in behind in this train from what is from P4 down to P9, which is a Ferrari sandwich with Kevin and Knight at the sharing the front and back of this train. Then you've got the second train of what is Andrea, who is now starting to struggle on his older hard tyres. Went for the audacious undercut to get himself further up the field, but now the tyre deg and the wear is starting to kick in on that McLaren. Sepala with 4-lap-old fresher tyres, and Finley himself with 3-lap-old fresher tyres will want to get a move done. Here comes Sepala now down the inside into Stoke Corner. He gets the move done as we are side by side further up the field. So between Kevin and Snack, Snack wanting to try and get the net race lead back. Nick goes into the box very early off his hard tyres, clearly thinking that he doesn't want to lose too much time if he's going to have any chance on scoring some points for IRT. As it currently stands, Kevin just about hung on there from Snack coming through Vale and Club Corner. But here comes Nylon now going to the outside with a very audacious late braking move. Caught Snack napping there, round the outside through Farm and through the loop. He's on the inside line. That is a fantastic move there from the Mercedes, man. What a move there from Nylon. But here comes Snack now, right on his diffuser. Is he going to go for the move? No, he is not. Kevin's trying to defend on the inside, coming into Brooklands. He just about does, and Nylon has to stay in behind. But what a move there from Nylon to get that move done around the outside. That's a brilliant, brilliant overtake. I'm in game chat. Yep. Thanks, Dams. I didn't see that, so thank you very much for pointing that out for me. Snack now trying to get the move done back on Nilo there, coming into Maggots and Beckett, but the Mercedes just about closing the door. Snack is going to be absolutely angry with that, allowing Nilo there to get a move done late on the brakes around the outside. We've got a yellow flag there. That's Mateo Manga for TF10, who's gone off of the background there. You can just about see his teammate there, and Snack trying to get that position back off Nilo, and it is just not happening. As I've just noticed that Sepala, obviously getting that move on Andrea, has now caught up to the back of this train. So we've now got an additional driver in this train. Finley has still not got ahead of the McLaren. Andrea 1.4 seconds off the back as the two leaders, have got into the pit. So Quantum and Zane onto the medium tyres now. Will go to the end of the race. Where did they come out though in relation to everybody else out on track though? That is going to be the key question. The answer is Quantum's P15, Zane P16. But they're going to have 12 racing laps to get these medium tyres to the end of the race. They're going to be dead come the end of it, but I think they had to do it now, or else they're going to have absolutely no chance of scoring any decent amount of points at the moment. So Kevin leads the way as it stands now after those pit stops. Finley has finally got the move done on Andrea, and for his sake, he would hope that he can try and close in on this train in front of him, which is being led by Kevin from Nilo, and Snack is your top three from Max Power, Luca and Knight. It's P6. Give Nilo a world spot, says Ron. Well, I think that's certainly going to be the key question, I think, is that maybe we should allow that to happen. But Snack having a bit of a mistake there through Beckett's and Chapel there. Was getting very close to the back of Nilo, but has now dropped back. Thought Max Powell might have had a little sniff of an opportunity to get moved on, but the answer is no. So this is the lead train of 7 drivers, down to Sepala, who's trying to get a move on in AMS now. He's got 2 lap pressure tyres. He's going to go around the outside into Vale Corner. Is he going to get the move done? Is this just as good as Nilo's? Indeed it is. Round the outside there from Sepala to get the move done on AMS9. He's got that 10-second time penalty, but he is showing what he can do, and that is a great move later on the brakes to get himself ahead of the Ferrari. Now, are we going to have team orders here at VNT? Are they going to allow Sepala to get himself further up the field? He's not going to pull a gap on anybody, but it's to try and minimise any positions that, well, all these positions that he's going to lose come the end of this race. Because at the moment, he and Finley are actually going to be finishing P17 and P18 as it currently stands. Here's the move going to be done. Yes, it is. There is team orders. No multi-21 this time at Red Bull, and Sepala goes ahead of his teammate Luca for P5. Oh my! I'm going to sound like Joseph in a minute, who said he feels like he's been smoking 20 a day. My throat is now starting to go, but I think that's just because of the amount of talking that I'm having to do. Here comes Sepala once again, now closing into Max Power. He's only got one lap fresher tyres over Max Power, but he's certainly got a lot of speed. On the Kick Sauber in front of him, Snack now and Nilo. Are we going to see a move being done on the back of Kevin Sundberg? The answer is no. He is not interested. He wants to save that battery for the end of the race and go for a move later on, as late as he can. Quantum now up into P13. He's got himself ahead of Crowding, and Zane now follows suit. So they are now both in the points officially on track. Actually going to be P11 and P12 for them, with the penalties in front of them, but they've still got a long way to go to get themselves back into this main train of what is now 12 drivers. Quantum setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:28.1. So yeah, very good pace there for the Kick Sauber. But yes, this train has now become 12 drivers, with Finley closing in onto the back of AMS Knight and Andrea just about sticking with them. Like I said, 12 car train, and will very soon be a 13 car train, because that Kick Sauber and medium tyre of Quantum will catch up by the end of this lap, if not probably on the hanger straight. Sepala now getting close to his teammate of Max Power within a tenth and a half, but had a bit of a wiggle there through Brooklands, and then he coming into the Luffield corner, but didn't lose anything. Obviously he's got his teammate as a rear gunner, so nothing's going to happen. Max Power could, for quite a few times now I've seen him go off the racing line to cool the engine as much as he can. I said this yesterday in World, and I'll keep saying it many a time. Engine temperatures are a thing on this. You stay in the slipstream too long, and yeah, you got to cook it. So yeah, he's trying to get a bit of cleaner, considering that nobody's really going to go for any moves, and Sepala isn't anywhere near close enough. Is Snack close enough to get a move done on Nilo, or will he force Nilo to make a move on the Ferrari in front of him? The answer is no. In further behind, Quantum now is on the back of this DRS train, and will now try and start to get some moves done. So we'll stay on board with the FRT man. His first victim is Polly Massey for BRC, who are still on minus 18 points. One driver has retired. Everything is now on Polly Massey, who's struggling there through Club Corner. Quantum now on the inside. That is also a very slow Zwade. Are we going to go 3 wide in through the first turn? We nearly are, a bit of contact made. And even more contact made now between the Kick Sauber and the Aston Martin, but that is a double overtake and 2 positions gained for Quantum. He's up into P11 now on track, and he'll just about have the DRS on Callum in front of him. Good effort there from the FRT man, as he sets his sights now on the next driver in front of him. Excuse me, sorry, I can't help that. That's I'm gonna have to take a drink a second. Just bear with me. There we go. That hopefully is a bit better. Anyway, carrying on, lap 18 of this 26 lap race, and Zwade and Polly Massey are starting to struggle a bit, even though they've got fresher tyres compared to a lot of them in front of them. They seem to be struggling at this moment in time. Quantum certainly is not struggling in the slightest, as Crowding picks up what is the first 3-second time penalty of this race. Didn't think I'd be saying that, and it's taken to lap 18. Here comes Quantum now, getting the move on Callum. Callum sort of defended a little bit there, but in the end it was best just to let the FRT man go, and he gets himself up into P10. Zane has still not caught the back of this train yet, which surprises me a little bit, but I think he will be there come this next lap now that we're all going on. Shadow going into the box, and Shadow retires. Interesting one. Grumpy, what's the thoughts on Shadow's retirement as Quantum gets the move done on Andrea, who is now starting to suffer on his 11 lap old hard tyres? So yeah, those who now pitted at the first pit stoppers onto the hard tyres are now definitely starting to struggle, and the pace is certainly starting to drop off for them, especially for likes of Andrea and Callum. So you'd have thought that Zwade, and Polymassi will be able to capitalise, but again, at this moment in time, they don't seem to be doing so. As Shadows AI is still out on track. That's why they've got the yellow flags in sector 1. Kevin still leads the way at the moment. Nilo not really putting him under any threat. Is Sapala going to try and get a move done on Max Power here? The answer is no, not quite close enough. He goes very wide there on the exit of Stowe Corner, and just gives Max Power those couple of extra car lengths that he needs to not get overtaken. As Polymassi now becomes the second victim of a 3-second time penalty, down in P13 at the moment. Will still score at least a solitary point as it currently stands, with Nick not closing in onto the back of this train. But Andrea now has lost the DRS once again, as he did earlier in this stint, and we are now down to a 9-car train. As I shouldn't have got off this, but here comes Sapala trying to get a move done on Max Power here. Well, a little bit of argy-bargy, but he just about gets the move done. And in the background, that is Quantum trying to get the move done on Finley. Finley will want to try and defend from the Kick Sauber, who's obviously on those medium tyres to help protect his teammate up in P2. But in the end, it comes to no avail, and Quantum gets the move done into Brooklyn's corner with the aid of DRS and have the inside line and the better tyres. His next victim is Knight, who he was stuck behind for the entirety of his first stint, but this time he's got the medium tyres, got better pace as it still currently stands, and will want to get a move done as soon as he can. Is he going to get a move done as we've got this helicopter view going into Maggott and Beckett? He's got the battery, and in the end Knight just concedes. He gives the position up to Quantum, and Quantum is now up to P7. Now this is where it's going to get really interesting. He's got VNT Luca in front of him, who will want to defend as much as he can. He needs all the points he can for VNT, who could have capitalised on Finley getting that first 10-second time penalty, but Sapala getting one of his own kind of negates that, and it's balanced out. FRT have a good chance here of regaining some of those minus points that they got from last week at Catalonia back here tonight, and could come away with some very good points. Lap 21 now of this 26 lap Grand Prix here at Silverstone. What has been pretty much a chaotic race, minus that little bit in the middle, well, towards the start of the race, as that is the orange sausage curb hit there by Luca. That is a mistake. That opens the door for Quantum. He's on the inside line through onto the Wellington Straight, and that is the easiest move that he's had to make so far, and all because of Luca's own mistake. That is P6 now for the Kick Sauber FRT man. Callum now getting the move done on Andrea, whose hard tyres are probably starting to scream for help at this point. Could we see a puncture on the McLaren? We'll see come the end of this race. But here's now the next thing. Are we going to have a swap of positions between the two FRT drivers? What is Quantum cooking, says Tiago? Well, the answer is he's cooking something pretty good, because obviously whatever it is, it seems to be working. And his pace is very good, to say the least. And these top three, because obviously Sapala having that penalty, are going to have to be a little bit worried with the fact that Quantum is coming through the field as quickly as he is, as that is Wade now in the background on the inside into Stowe Corner, getting ahead of Andrea now, who's just going backwards once again. Let's go board with the leader. That is Kevin Zumberg, who has taken the lead since, though, obviously the hard tyre run has pitted onto the medium. So he has led this race now for the past 7-8 laps now. Has the Ferrari man, leads this way from Nilo in P2 and Snack there in P3. Sapala is P4 but has that penalty, so he will drop down the field. And like I said, as it stands, that will be currently could be P16, depends on obviously the drivers and their penalties. He might get a point. We'll have to wait and see, as Zane gets ahead of Polymassi, and I expect TRT to make a driver swap, just as FRT have done, and that is a second team to have done a change of positions. Quantum now getting ahead of his teammate Max Power, and indeed Zane does the exact same thing, and his teammate having the better tyres, and gets himself ahead of Andrea for what is now P12. We'll go back up towards the front. Sapala in P4 getting close to the back of Snack, as is Nilo onto the back of Kevin Zumberg. Are we going to see some position changes here? Because now they know Quantum is P5. They're going to have to get their skates on and get some moves done. Look how close Nyla was there to the back of Kevin Zumberg. Did not have the best of runs. Is this an opportunity for Snack? We'll go on board with the Alpine and the TF10 man coming down the hanger straight, but he's not quite got the battery. And in the end, he has to stick in behind. Sipala did not put any threat on them whatsoever, just saved that battery. Realising that there was no real need for him to try and go for any move whatsoever. Callum now trying to stay ahead of Zwade for P10. As we come down, he tries to take the inside going to Vale corner, and he just holds on. Zane hitting the back of the Aston Martin in front of him, gets much better traction through the final chicane there, through Club corner, but he's not quite close enough to get him moved on. We'll go back again to the front of the field. 3.5 seconds is the gap between P9 and P10. That's opened up very quickly. All of a sudden. Anything happened on lap 1? Well, Typical got a 10-second time penalty for cutting the corner and gaining a position. Not too sure how that happened. Shadow got punted to the back, and well, actually 3 drivers lost out 6 or 7 places, and that was Shadow, Andrea, and Mateo Manga was the other one. So not entirely sure. Gap to leader, Beetle. I will show you the gap to leader. There you are. With 3.5 laps to go now in this Grand Prix. That is your gap. And that's all as long as you're having it for. Finley now has lost the DRS off the back of the top 7 somehow. Must have made a mistake, or again his tyres are now just starting to cook a little bit and are just losing their grip. Quantum now on his 8-lap-old mediums. They might not now have the grip that he needs to make any form of impression and make any moves on the 4 in front of him. Obviously he's going to be in P4 anyway with Sapala's penalty, but he needs to get a move done if he wants to get himself ahead of the top 3. But I think his teammate Max Power now is actually quicker than him. I think the hard tyres, these 4-lap older hard tyres that he's got, are quicker than his mediums. Thiago says TF10 will grab the win. We've got 3 laps to go here. Snack is in P3. He's in a good position, but he's not got the battery. It's something that he's struggled with all race long. He's not had the battery compared to the likes of Nilo and Kevin and everyone around him. He's actually got the lowest battery out of this entire top 7, bar Luca, who again just seems to be struggling and falling down the field now. His pace just seems to have gone, even though he's got fresher tyres compared to Nilo and Kevin Zumberg in front of him. Quantum, is he getting close enough to the back of Sapala? The answer is no. Snack going for a slightly more wet weather line there to straighten the car up on the exit of Luffield, but not really gaining anything from it, as Matteo Manga and Polimasi fighting for 16th place at the moment. As we come through Margaret and Beckett's for the 24th out of 26 times here, and that is crowding. I can just see they're getting up into P14, but stick and bob with Quantum. Is he close enough to make a move on the Red Bull, or are we going to have a swap of positions once again from FRT? The answer is no, we are not. Through Club corner. Kevin through the final corner now. Starts the penultimate lap of this race. He's got a 6/10 gap to Nilo, and that is Andrea, who has a puncture. I did say he might get a puncture. I didn't expect it to be as early as lap 24, but Andrea has got a puncture, and that very audacious, very early pit stop has not worked out for him. As I shouldn't have got off board here, because we've got Sapala making a move on Snack. I am very, very sorry that we missed that. It doesn't account for anything, but it means Snack now cannot battle and fight Nilo and Kevin in front of him to try and go for the race win. He must have made a mistake through village or farm and the loop somewhere to allow Sapala to get the move done. Well, Thiago, you said TF10 will grab the win. I don't think now that's going to happen with Snack now down in P4. This is a straight fight now between Nilo and Kevin Zumberg for the win of this race as we come through Copse Corner. Now Maggots and Beckett and Chapel for the penultimate time. Is he going to be close enough? No, that is going to be the question. Has he got a better run here? Not really, actually. Gap's now up to half a second. He's not close enough to the back of that Ferrari, who's doing all he can to get this win. Yes, I know, commentator curse. That's just blame me, because you know why the hell not? I just get blamed for everything. I'll take it. It's absolutely fine. But this, as I was just going to say, this will be a big win for Evolution Racing Team if they can get a win here tonight. And Kevin is doing all that he can to hold off the fast charging Nilo behind him. He's got one lap fresher tyres. We've seen though Andrea pick up a puncture after 17 laps on his hard tyres. Could it happen to Kevin, who's done 17 laps himself now, but he's only got one more lap to go, and he's got a decent amount of battery, has the Ferrari, compared to the Mercedes behind him, who's closing with the aid of DRS. He's closing, but he's not close enough coming to Brooklands. Kevin runs wide though. He gets a little bit of a switch cut back, I guess you could say, to straighten the car coming into Luffield. Not really the ideal line he would have wanted to have taken, but nonetheless he's managed to get himself back up to 3.5 tenths ahead of the Mercedes in front of him. Through Copse Corner now for the final time. Quantum is not going to be a factor, Snack is not a factor, Sepala is not a factor. This is between these two. It's a straight dogfight. That's a very wide kick Sauber there in the background. Not too sure which one of the two it was. But here we are through Maggots and Beckett to Chapel for the final time. This is the best and the closest that Nilo has been all race long through the exit here. It's up to 4 tenths though, and he's not quite got the battery. Has Kevin just about held him off here? And yes, he can go back to the racing line. Nilo dives it down the inside, tries to straighten the car up as best as he can. It's not going to be enough. And in the end, there goes Sepala going for a move down the inside for no real reason, really. He's just going to... He's got that 10-second time penalty, but Kevin Zoomberg takes the win here at Silverstone. Nilo takes P2, Snack is P3, Quantum and Max Power P4 and P5 for FRT. A decent recovery for them considering their minus points last week. Luca is P6 in the end. Then you got Knight, Zwade, then Zane, and Sepala in the end finishes P10 after his 10-second time penalty. Callum is 11th, Finley finishes 12th with his penalty. Then you have Crading and Matteo Manga, the final point scorers, in 13th and 14th. Polymassi, Nick did not score points tonight, and Andrea, obviously you've got that puncture, just going for fastest lap honours really, on this set of soft tyres that he's on, just to, I guess, have a little bit of pride. But yes, super Kevin Zoomberg there. I mean, do you know what? It was that being overtaken that then meant he went into the pits is kind of got what won him that race. But I don't know how his tyres lasted, considering that Andrea's burst and the fact he managed to get his to go even further. So the luck was on his side, but the tyre gods were on his side tonight, and he just got it to work. But what a win for Kevin Zoomberg and for Evolution Racing Team. We don't need to watch the celebrations any longer. But here are your provisional race results. Driver of the day going to Quantum there, and you know what, I would give him that, as well as actually maybe for Kevin as well. Either way, these are your provisional race results, and it is Kevin Zoomberg who takes the win in the end from Nilo in P2, Snack in P3. So 3 different teams there on the podium tonight. Snack, though, be a little bit disappointed to have dropped down to P3 in the end. Quantum in 4th, Max Power in 5th, so good day at the office for FRT in the end, considering Quantum side P16. Luca in P6, Knight in 7th, Zwade, Zane and Sepala rounding up your top 10. Then, yeah, like I said, you have Callum, Finley, Crowding, Matteo Manga and Polly Massey, Nick and Andrea are your finishers. And then, obviously, Shadow Cosmo and Typical did not finish the race and retired for their own reasons. I am surprised we did not have any more punches than what we had. That is the one thing I'm going to take from this. Tyre gods were on everybody's side apart from Andreas, clearly. Callum had 89% at the end. Then he's a lucky boy, isn't he? And he pitted, what, 1 lap later than Andrea as well? I think. So the same lap as Kevin. He's a lucky boy in himself, and he gets those few vital points that are needed. But that has been round 7 of the Premier Tier season. Obviously, next week we come back to Silverstone, but we do it in reverse, which is going to be very weird doing that, saying everything in the complete wrong order. God help me, please. But tune in, obviously, tomorrow and Friday for the Artemis tier and the top tier, obviously doing their own Silverstone race here for TTC. I will be back here in the box next week, guys. Hopefully you can all join me, but from Mr. Bobbert here in the box for you tonight. Thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your night, and enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.